Committee, and he joins us here on the set in Washington. Senator, good to see you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Well, thank
Good
you.
choice. I'm glad to see somebody got picked for merit.
Well, thank you. President-elect Trump has said, basically, we don't want conflict with Russia until we have to, because it wouldn't serve our interests.
Gotcha.
You have said, and I think I'm quoting, we need to hit them hard.
Yes.
Why would that serve vital American interests?
Great question. Number one, what Russia did in our election did not change the outcome. Donald Trump's the legitimate president. Clinton lost because she was a bad candidate. Trump won because he is the agent of change. It's not because of what the Russians did, but what they tried to do is interfere in our election, and what they're doing all over the world is try to break the backbone of democracy. If you forgive Putin, you're screaming weakness. Remember the red line? You better not cross this red line. If you use chemical weapons, I'm coming after you with Assad.
Yes.
Obama did nothing. If you forgive Putin for what he's done in our election and what he's doing all over the world, he will be on steroids. And it's the worst possible thing you could do to reset relationships with Russia. You need to smack him in the face. I don't want a war with Russia, but I want them to pay a price for trying to undermine our democracy and what they're doing all over the world to other democracies.
So you obviously were here for the debate surrounding the Iran deal.
Yes.
And you were a participant in that debate, a vigorous participant in that debate.
Lousy deal.
Yes. So during that debate, the governments of Saudi Arabia and Israel and some of the Gulf states spent millions of dollars trying to influence the outcome of our domestic conversation on that. They spied on us, as you know, and they basically lobbied for their positions on that. Now, we're close to all those countries, and I think we should continue to be, and I think you agree. How is that different?
Well, one, you pay lobbyists to represent your interests. Israel does it. A lot of foreign countries come to Capitol Hill hiring lobbyists, say, would you do A, B, or C? What the Russians did is they hacked into a political party. They did it to the Republicans and too. So anyway, the backbone of democracy is political parties. When you compromise one party, you compromise all.
Wait a second. The Israelis and the Saudis, and I think the Gulf states as well, spied on us during that. They had inside information, and it was in the press, about the deliberations over the Iran deal. I mean, I wasn't mad about it, but that happened.
We spy on other people?
Exactly. So why is what Russia did uniquely bad?
This is uniquely bad, in my view, is because what you did is you hacked into a political party. You gave that information to a foreign entity called WikiLeaks, and it was used in a fashion to undermine confidence in our election. That is a red line that you should never allow any foreign entity to cross. It's fundamentally different than coming up here and asking me as a senator to do A or B. It is a crime. It destroys democracy. Let me tell you what they did in Georgia. When Georgia invited Crimean parliamentarians to come to a regional conference, they shut down the parliament's website. And Estonia, when they took a statue of Lenin down, the Russians cut off the power in the capital of Estonia. This has to stop. If you give Russia a pass, you're screaming weakness. If you give Putin a pass on this, we'll pay a heavy price because the Iranians and the Chinese are sizing us up. What they did to the Democratic Party, somebody could do to Trump. What if Kellyanne Conway's emails are hacked?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm against hacking, but
what would you say?
Well, I would say that's appalling.
Would you punish that country?
I don't know. Any country that breaks into computers in the United States and affects either commerce or politics is bad. The Chinese, as you know, have been doing it for many years.
I can't say it any better.
They broke into the White House computer system under the Obama administration and shut it down for 2 weeks. No one was suggesting you bomb China.
Here's the answer to the world. Don't be like Obama. Don't do what Obama did. Don't give every bad thug and dictator in the world a pass. Make somebody pay a price for undermining our basic way of life. It is now time to reset the relationship with Russia. I've introduced sanctions against Russia that are more hard-hitting than Obama. Obama threw a pebble at Putin. I want to throw a rock.
Why wouldn't you throw a rock at the Chinese?
Count me in.
Sanctions against China?
Absolutely.
Troops on the border?
Count me in. With troops on the border?
Well, sure. With China. I mean, you can put them in the borders a lot of countries.
They're seizing islands owned by others. Instead of resolving the dispute through international law, they're actually building military bases over the island. Trump's right about this. He wants to push back against China. Sanctions are tools in the toolbox. I don't want to go to the war with anybody, but here's what I'll tell you I'm not going to do. I'm not going to continue the weakness we've had for the last 8 years. The best way to get America back in good standing is to have a president who will tell our enemies, you cross us at your own peril, and tell our friends it's okay to be a friend of America. The Baltic states who live in the shadow of Russia are all democracies, members of NATO. They're scared to death of Russia. Georgia and the Ukraine have been dismembered by Russia because Obama sat on the sidelines and didn't do a damn thing about it. Those days need to end.
But a a lot of Americans are saying that's all true, and nobody's for smaller states being subsumed by larger states or anyone getting bullied.
That's good.
But if you have, I don't know, a 19-year-old son like I do, why should I be pleased at the prospect of him losing his life to defend Ukraine or Crimea?
Here's what I would say. If you join the military, you do so wide open. I don't want a war with Russia, but let me tell you, the last time we let one power, one country in Europe start gobbling up the rest of Europe, we had World War II. Here's what I can tell you. The rule of law means a lot to me.
So Putin is Hitler? Is that?
He is taking land owned by others by force.
Okay.
And if you excuse that, where does it stop?
I don't know. I mean, China took Tibet. China's taking the South China Sea, as you know.
We're not going to war of Tibet. Are you okay with him taking the Crimea and disrupting Eastern Ukraine?
No, but it's a question of what it's worth to us. I guess
it's worth a lot to me. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Number one, world order means a lot to me. I don't want to live in a world where somebody can take something owned by another just because they can. I don't want to live in a world where people who want to be free are oppressed and kicked around by bullies. Putin kills his enemies, literally. Yeah. He's destroyed every instrument of democracy inside of Russia. He's exporting Putinism all over the planet. He's partnered up with Assad to help kill 400,000 Syrians. What does that matter to us? The Syrians who fled Syria because of being killed by Russia, Iran, and Assad, they're going to go throughout the world. I want young Syrians to believe that America is their friend, not their enemy.
So Syria was, at the beginning of the Civil War, about 10% Christian, maybe a little bit more. Yeah. If you were to take a poll of Syrian Christians, how profound do you think the support would be for the Assad regime?
It's mixed. Assad has played the Christian card to his benefit. He said, I'm here to help Christians. The bottom line is what Assad's done is he's taken every voice of opposition in his country and he's extinguished it through the use of force. The Arab Spring is real. People went out in the streets of Damascus to ask to live in a country that's more socially just. I don't want to live in a country where a few people get everything and nobody else gets
anything. Of course not. I mean, it's a totally screwed up country run by a dictator, but I'm asking about a very large, one of the largest Christian populations in the Middle East, which has been destroyed by the Civil War, and no one in the United States has said much about it. And they're uniformly pro-Assad. I mean, let's be real. It's not mixed. They're for Assad. He protected them.
Not uniformly, but they're mostly
pretty close to uniformly.
And I met with them not long ago.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. The best thing that happened for Syria is for the people in Syria to decide who their leader is, not the Russians and the Iranians. The Iranians have toppled 4 Arab capitals. What does that mean to us? If you allow Iran, the Ayatollah, to develop a nuclear weapon, I think he'll use it. He's on the path to do that. If you allow him to turn the Middle East upside down, it will hurt us. Hezbollah is supported by Assad. Hezbollah is a mortal enemy to Israel. If we allow the Iranians to dominate Damascus and put their puppet Assad in power, the Arabs in the region are never going to accept that, and Israel's in a world of hurt.
No offense, but the Assad family's been in power for over 50 years, supported by the Iranians. So that's the status quo, and it was a peaceful country through which Americans could travel, in which Christians were safe.
Until what?
And now it's a disaster. Is the Free Syrian Army the answer?
It was 4 years ago, probably not now. Here's what happened, Tucker. The people of Syria rose up and said, we want a better government. We want a country without the Assad family controlling everybody and everything. They did the same in Egypt. They did the same in Tunisia. The Arab Spring is real. All I can tell you...
Has it been good for Syrians, the Arab Spring?
I think the Arab Spring was mismanaged by Obama. When the Iranian people rose up against the Ayatollah in 2009 and the young lady was out in the street, Obama, are you with them? Are you with us? He said, I don't want to disturb the relationship with the Ayatollah. What would Ronald Reagan would have done? He would have sided with that young girl. So at a moment in time where we could take in the Ayatollah and run him out of his country, Obama gave him a pass. You know what I fear more than the Russians? The Iranians with a nuclear weapon, because the Ayatollah is a religious Nazi. In 2009, his own people stood up to him, and we basically sat on the sidelines and watched him be slaughtered. What does it matter to America? It matters a lot to me that we stand up for freedom, not just for ourselves, but for others. And when it comes to dictators, thugs, and bullies and religious zealots, fight them over there so we don't have to fight them here.
We're out of time. The obvious question is, if we applied the same standards to Saudi Arabia and Jordan, where would we be?
But we're going to push them. Okay. They're not our enemies.
Senator, it's great to see you. Thank you for that. That was really interesting.
Loved it. More to come.